Let's go. It was Lucy, a silent 9.5-year-old Lucy with short dark hair and her mother's round hazel eyes, a tall pre-adolescent girl dressed in ragged red jeans, scuffed white keds and a Kansas City Royals t-shirt. No bag, no jacket or sweater slung over her arm, nothing but the clothes on her back. Tom hadn't seen her in 6 years, but he recognized her at once. Altogether different somehow, and yet exactly as she'd been, in spite of a full new set of adult teeth, in spite of the longer, thinner look to her face, in spite of the many inches she had grown. There she stood at the door, smiling up at her dishevelled, sleep-worn uncle, studying him with the rapt, unblinking eyes he remembered so well from the old days in Michigan. Where was her mother? Where was her mother's husband? Why was she alone? How had she gotten there? Tom paused after each question, but not a single word came from Lucy's mouth. For a few moments he wondered if she hadn't gone deaf, but then he asked her if she remembered who he was, and she nodded her head. Tom opened his arms, and she walked readily into his embrace, pressing her forehead against his chest and hugging him back as tightly as she could. "You must be starving," Tom said at last, and then he opened the door wide and led her into the dismal coffin he called his room. He fixed her a bowl of Cheerios, poured her a glass of orange juice, and by the time he'd finished making a pot of coffee for himself, both the glass and the bowl were empty. He asked if she wanted something more, and when she nodded yes and smiled, he set about preparing a couple of pieces of French toast for her, which she doused in a puddle of maple syrup and scarfed down in a minute and a half. At first, Tom attributed her silence to exhaustion, to anxiety, to hunger, to any one of several possible causes, but the fact was that Lucy didn't look tired, appeared to be perfectly comfortable in her surroundings, and now that she had polished off the food, hunger had been scratched from the list as well. And yet she continued to say nothing in response to his questions. A few nods and shakes of the head, but no words, no sounds, no effort to use her tongue at all. "Have you forgotten how to talk, Lucy?" Tom asked. A shake of the head. "What about the t-shirt? Does it mean you came here from Kansas City?" No response. "What do you want me to do with you? I can't send you back to your mother if you don't tell me where she lives." No response. "Would you like me to give you a pencil and a pad of paper? If you don't want to talk, then maybe you could write down your answers for me." A shake of the head. "Have you stopped talking forever?" Another shake of the head. "Good. I'm glad to hear it. And when are you allowed to start talking again?" Lucy thought for a moment, then held 2 fingers up to Tom. 2? But 2 what? 2 hours? 2 days? 2 months? Tell me, Lucy." No response. "Is your mother all right?" A nod. "Is she still married to David Miner?" Another nod. "Why did you run away then? Don't they treat you well?" No response. "How did you get to New York? By bus?" A nod. "Do you still have your ticket receipts?" No response. "Let's see what's in your pockets. Maybe we'll find some answers there." Lucy obliged by digging her hands into all 4 pockets of her jeans and yanking out the contents, but nothing of significance was found. $157 in cash, 3 sticks of chewing gum, 6 quarters, 2 dimes, 4 pennies, and a piece of paper with Tom's name, address and phone number written on it, but no bus ticket, no clue to tell him where her trip had begun. "All right, Lucy," Tom said. "Now that you're here, what are you planning to do? Where are you going to live?" Lucy pointed her finger at her uncle. Tom let out a short, incredulous laugh. "Take a good look at where you are," he said. "There's barely enough room for 1 person here. Where do you think you're going to sleep, little girl?" A shrug, followed by a large, even more beautiful smile, as if to say, "We'll figure it out."